for the finals?
Experience the LEC Finals in Athens with Shell V-Power.
And welcome back to the LEC Summer Split. Just before we get into our next game, I'd like to let you know that we've partnered with Prideletics to represent pride in esports and take a stand against homophobia in the global gaming community. With the proceeds donated to LGBTQ causes, you can find the shirt over at Prideletics website. And I'm reading from there, obviously, prideletics.com/esports. This is the t-shirt. Please go check it out. We're about to jump into the game. Welcome Ender and Frostgurn to the desk. That was crazy. Let's talk a little bit about G2 versus OG. I got very wrapped up in the excitement of the previous game. Going to be dialing into this one where there's a lot of stakes on the table for Origin, who seem to be in a pretty big slump.
Yeah, I mean, this week is absolutely critical for Origin because this is their hardest week they will play up until playoffs. They have to play G2 today and then Fnatic tomorrow, which is absolutely difficult for this squad who has been struggling. And this is sort of the week that will tell me if this team can be a title contender.
Counterpoint to that, though, if Origin look at this from the mentality of, you know, maybe this is a 1-1 type of week, you're against G2, I don't think anyone really expects the final win here. Yeah, they're a great measuring stick, but I think there is still time left down the road for Origin to get it together. I'm curious about 9-14. There's so many champions that Origin relied on, the likes of the Lux, the Tom Kench, that have been taken away or dramatically changed for 9-14. What do Origin reach for now on this brand new patch?
Well, let's find out because we're into the draft, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody else. G2 taking on OG. Aatrox, Sejuani, Kiana taken off the table.
Yeah, the Sejuani, an interesting one here for me because yes, Cold has loved that in previous weeks, but the last few weeks hasn't necessarily been going for that champion, has been much more a fan of the likes of the Jarvan as he's trying to have more of an early game impact in his games.
And there's exactly what you're talking about, the fact that G2 will not let him get the Jarvan. Sylas is kind of the big standout to me, but things like Karma, Sylas, one of them is going to get through this draft phase.
Now the question I have for you, G2 Esports are one of the most innovative teams on the planet, and we just had a very large change theoretically in 9-14. Can we expect any shenanigans?
I mean, you always have to expect shenanigans with G2 in the game. Specifically, I would love to see something like the Poppy come out here from either side because you look at G2, it's a team that loves to play very highly mobile champions, especially in those two solo lanes. So that's the pick that I had my eyes on most coming into the week.
And a lot of teams right here would grab something like the Karma or the Azir, very safe blind picks, but because it's G2, I'm kind of holding my breath on what the priority is going to be.
I'm very excited to see how well G2 adapt and also what Origin can do. The last time Origin came back from Rift Rivals, they did not adapt well. Yasuo has been nearly perma-banned against this team, and while it is a flex, we kind of think it's going to go to perm.
Yeah, we expect it to be bot lane, you know, pair that up alongside the Gragas, but obviously they do have a lot of options here. You know, some of our other teams in the LEC could very likely flex it too, but very few, if any, would be willing to first pick it like G2.
So what's the reaction? Do you think that Origin, like, look to grab the Gragas, flex it between support and jungle, and deny that pick that works so well with Yasuo?
I mean, I would personally like to see the Gragas here, especially with a lot of the jungle bans that we've seen already. Just give it, as you mentioned, you know, that disengage, engage potential, and denial ability here. But Cold, I think, might prefer to have an early game jungler that can compete more with the likes of Jankos.
As far as the Azir pick being locked in, again, we talked about the power of the blind pick. I like the fact that it is now being paired with a potential Olaf. There we go. We saw it in Splice last game, how strong this 2v2 is for early jungle priority, and then that allows Cold to go on the offensive across from Jankos.
Well, what is the answer now from G2 Esports? This Yasuo, we need to see time. If the Gragas gets locked in, we feel very confident. That's going to be the duo down in the bottom. And there's the hover. Where do they go next? A couple seconds more. The Corki is locked in. I guess that's a fairly safe sort of mid lane now.
Yeah, good answer into the Azir. Typically, we see the Corki fall a little bit behind in the laning phase, but Caps on that champion is definitely going to appreciate the outscale potential.
Yeah, everything's kind of going according to plan right now.
Well, if there was any teams that we're going to play today that I would have said would not play Corki Azir, it would have been these two teams that I would have guessed, and I would have been horribly wrong. But Rakan will be locked in here for Mithi. Slightly different flavor profile for him. He has played it twice this split. 1-1, lost one.
I mean, it could be a Corki top. I don't think it is, but it could be. It's G2.
What would need to happen? What would need to happen for that to be true? Like, would it be specific matchups or something?
I mean, technically, you have 3 flex picks that came out of G2, and we kind of called them the trendsetters for 9-14. I hear that G2 pay a lot of attention to what happens over in China in the LPL. Corki top's a big pick over there. And Alfari does love ranged matchups.
Okay, let's do it. I want to see that happen.
I don't think it's going to be, but it is a potential. I'm trying to get you excited.
I would love for it to happen. Give Wonder the corki and let Caps play something ridiculous. We're entering phase 2. Lee Sin has been denied, so getting a preferential matchup here for Cold's Olaf. Zaya, the response, and Koth is taken off the table as well.
Yeah, interesting they went for the card this year. I was thinking maybe remove another early game option like the Elise could be a good choice here for the side of Origin, but now makes me think that Jankos will likely try to pick up something like that for himself, assuming the Gragas isn't his pick of choice.
Yeah, he's had a very narrow jungle pool to pick from because Sejuani and Jarvan also banned his first side. I like the Lucian ban because it feels like Patrick was looking for something with a bit more teeth or firepower into that bot lane as well as added safety. This might force him onto an Ezreal, possibly a Sivir.
Even the Kai'Sa, we've seen actually played a lot during today's game, specifically as an answer to that Kai'Sa, but he does have some good options here for sure. That will then leave them counterpick for top lane, so Wonder will have to go ahead and blind.
Do you have a preference on Ezreal over Kai'Sa? There's some scaling here already with the Azir, and it looks like the Ezreal's been locked in.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why you prefer Kai'Sa is because specifically against the Yasuo Gragas in the bottom lane, that's like one of the few champions that can disengage from that heavy all-in. The Lucian is one that we've heard teams talk about before as a good answer here, so that was banned away, so Ezreal was sort of the only really good option left into it.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, you're talking about Ezreal having the safety there, because you said Kai'Sa, I'm just trying to help you out.
The Ezreal, yes.
Yeah, the Ezreal. I also think what's really nice is that Ezreal has a lot of through damage and range, as you are excited for that one, Trevor.
I love Kled. Kled is one of my favorite champions in the game because his spell names just roll off my tongue so well. And I think the play style of Kled with that charge will also benefit the style that G2 Esports has. Run forward, Gragas, Yasuo, potentially this Elise, and that's a scary combination.
Yeah, that's a very scary 2 versus 2 on the top side of the map as well. Kled is so good at turning around ganks because he does get that remount and gets a whole lot of HP back. Elise is one of the few junglers that can contest Olaf in the early game, especially if you do get the jump on him and land that cocoon at the start of your trade.
It feels like if Elise finds you first, that most matchups and trades will go into her favor. So does Jankos find Cold first? In terms of what Alfari is probably going to grab here, he could go for something, I was going to say Kennen, but Jax would be fun.
Yeah, I like the Jax as an option to outscale the Kled in the side lane. Importantly, in this matchup, Jax doesn't really have those big cooldowns that you rely on, especially if you go with the Spear of Shojin. You can get a lot of consecutive counter-strike stuns out, but also it means that even if Kled is able to remount against you, you can still whittle him down and you don't lose any big CDs from the earlier trades.
And now there's a potential game state for Origin. You know, if Jax does fully come online and becomes that absolute terror that no one can deal with, it's so hard to engage on the 4 members of Origin if they look to set into a 1-4, because you're trying to then tackle an Azir who can Empress divide you away, Rakan with so much mobility, the shift from Ezreal, and then Olaf just presses R and walks.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy to say that it's hard to engage when you have a Kled and a Yasuo Gragas on your team, but it's definitely true in a match like this.
Well, I'm taking a look at the win-loss for Origin over the last 4 weeks, and they have gone 1-1 every single week. This is a team that when I looked at their spring split, mid-split rankings, they were sitting at 6 wins and 6 losses, and they did manage to ramp up and scale to finals. The reason I bring that all up, this weekend, Origin play G2 today, they play Fnatic tomorrow, and then we need to see how well they can scale up towards playoffs, because I am starting to get a little nervous for our second place spring squad.
I mean, frankly, when was the last time that Origin took a game off of G2? Hasn't it been like 7 straight losses at this rate?
It is indeed 7-0 straight losses. I actually have a prepared graphic for that. Thank you for stealing it from me. Let's jump into game. It's G2 taking on Origin. And welcome back to the final game of day 1. As Froskuren so rightly pointed out, it is Origin on a 7-game losing streak. Disregard the names at the top of your screen. It is G2 versus OG. And the all-time record between these organizations is 18 wins to 3 losses in favor of G2 Esports.
That's a pretty lopsided head-to-head, if you do ask me here. Now, getting into this game, Origin started off splitting up, bringing bringing their duo lane up towards the top side of the map, I was actually really hoping they would go for some sort of level 1 play, because with the Olaf level 1, as you'll recall too, there is the ability to make stuff happen, and specifically Cold in this matchup up against Jankos, I do want to see him trying to split the map in some way and trying to, you know, go for invades like we saw in our last game. It was a very, very strong start that wasn't ultimately executed upon, but I think there's definitely room to do it in a match like this.
But it looks like it is going to be a bot side start for both junglers. Yanko starting on his red, Cold onto his blue, so potential pathing and setup here for a top side gank.
Yeah, what'll ultimately end up happening here is Cold probably goes for a full clear, get that level 4, and then maybe look to protect top side around the same time that Jankos would be in this lane, because as you mentioned, this is a potentially vulnerable lane, especially because Wonder with the Bear Trap on the rope does provide good gank CC.
So the question I'm then going to have for you is, how do these lanes play out while the junglers are building up for the next few minutes? We've seen Corki Azir a bajillion times, so I don't want to go into it, but the Yasuo Gragas for Perks and Mickey, it is something that we've heard was banned a lot because of the performance they had in scrims. So Frost, that in combination with Kled versus Jax, you know, where do you want to start in terms of how these lanes are going to play out?
I mean, the scary thing about Yasuo and Gragas is anytime that you see it, there's always going to be a break point where feels like they have kill pressure on anyone. It feels like with having the Guardian on Rakan and then having very mobile, very safe champions for Patrick and Mithy, they're just trying to absorb a lot of that pressure. Level 4 is kind of the big window for me, but obviously if someone just absolutely mispositions, Yasuo and Gragas can make a lot of damage 2 to 3.
They definitely can. Now, I would like to check in on the top lane very briefly, because what we did see was Alphari taking very forward trades against the Kled at level 1 with the Counter-Strike, assuming that if he can dismount the Kled and then get access to his leaf, it's a very heavy kill threat in that lane. So Wonder had to back away from the lane and allow Alphari to get this big push.
Oh, while that's going on, Wonder's going to be able to get Skarl back from the bushes just as Alphari leapt forward and looks for the counter-strike. So pressure up in the top lane. Cold and Jankos, they're going to be shadowing this top lane.
And I also like the fact that Nukeduck's taking this big window where he knows that both junglers will be topside to go hyper-aggressive on Caps here and really chunk him out underneath this tower.
Yeah, so right now, Cold has a lot of support from his lanes. Yes, Alphari did go back to base, but they had the push. So he's able to sit here inside of the river and clear away this Scuttle Crab. At the same time, Jankos was not able to go ahead and start up his Gromp. And this is going to be especially poor for him, because on his second clear through the jungle, this Gromp will still be level 1, meaning gives significantly reduced experience, especially because Jankos is going to be much higher level than that camp.
And I also want to shout out to Mithy here as he trades some blows with Mickey. He used this time to wander up and place a ward right underneath Jankos' Raptor camp. They know that Jankos is in this bottom river.
Well, let's take a look what happens as Jankos now finds a flash from Patrick. The cocoon, while it finds a target, the flash was instantaneous, and Nukeduck is going to TP back to mid lane.
That's a bit...
Yikes.
So what is it specifically? Like, is it just the fact they even walked into the river?
Well, you saw Yanko's path on the through the Raptor camp. I'll hold it though.
It will indeed. The bear trap on a rope is going to dissuade Cold from going any further, and Skarl was not able to get proc.
Right, so right now, because Jankos was spotted bot lane, yes, he got the flash, and that's a big win for him. But right now, the wave in top is absolutely miserable for Wonder. There's so many ranged minions that it is going to be pushing back in towards Alphari. So you notice Jankos' early pathing, he goes straight back towards this top lane off the reset to try and help bounce this wave. That means push it all the way into the tower and let it reset. But there is an important ward inside the lane from Alphari that should see Jankos if he comes for this.
Oh, but he went underneath it. He hasn't been spotted.
No, he hasn't, but there's a fight in the bottom lane. Mithy's going to be able to dash away towards Patrick. The cocoon onto Cold has done so much damage. That's a flash forward. The rappel comes down. Alphari's looking for Jankos. Defensive flash away. A little Spiderling gets killed. Nobody dies yet.
Action across the map, however.
Oh, Collapse is going very low. Flash available to him. Nukeduck is get pushed away, and Jankos not going to be able to come in.
Such a bold maneuver from Jankos there, but he's now pathing towards that mid lane. I think he wants to get involved with this. Doesn't have access to flash, so if he looks for the dive, very risky play. Either that or he's trying to find Cold pathing back.
Yeah, and Cold has still not gone back to base just yet. Finally going to get that reset off, and Jankos comes in from the side. Nukeduck will have to flash.
Yeah, Nukeduck's so low on mana as well. Just enough to get over the wall. Blast Cone's available to him. Nobody's leaving the bottom lane, and beautiful defensive play across the rim.
Yeah, very well to disengage from that. Again, Jankos looking for a hyper-aggressive play. The fact that he just flashed and went for the dive top lane and then cleanly passed, knowing that Cold has been forced out of the jungle to get behind Nita.
Yeah, so Jankos does win that trade there, and of course applies a lot of pressure to the mid lane, but Cold should come out of this with a pretty hefty experience advantage, because again, Jankos is just clearing his Raptors for the first time. The Gromp camp that we mentioned earlier is still at level 1, so he's going to be a little bit behind in terms of overall experience, especially now because he's also going to be skipping out on that Krug camp, which means that Cold gets to have this very clean path bot to top and get a big clearer.
Oh man, Alfari's doing such a good job. 200 hit points, 100 hit points. Alfari over chases, cannot get the last auto, and Wonder gets first blood.
Disaster, overzealous, overreaches, and Wonder punishes him for him. It was going so well for Alfari.
It was looking so good. It felt like Alfari really sort of understood how to play into Kled. He was getting favorable trades, but Ender just messing up that last auto.
Yeah, I mean, he greeds underneath the tower going for the flash. Of course, Wonder Splash came through first, which meant that there was no way Alfari could actually make that trade work out. All of a sudden, this top lane shifts significantly.
All right, so we're looking at this. This is the pro view from the perspective. Oh, Wonder.
But I should be fine. And then fighting on bounces is good for me, because I went really hard on the run. Check this.
I literally
didn't even say anything.
Listen, I mean, you can't, right, when you're under that pressure. Really nicely done, and just no panic at all.
Yeah, I mean, the worst part is that Alfari actually played it really nicely. He held his counter-strike until Wonder came out of the dismount. That's exactly what you need to be doing in this type of matchup, but as we said, just a little bit too much greed.
Massing setup, however, it's a reset from both junglers. You can see that Jankos is going to take his reset right now, whereas Cold has advantage to getting early on to the map. So with this added time where Jankos isn't in position to make a play, what does Cold go for? Happens to be the first.
All right, so Cold is now approaching level 6. Got himself that Chilling Smite accrued, with the exception of Wonder being up 10 CS for now and that kill. It's pretty much even across the rest of the map. But take a look at this, level 6, instantaneous engage on Mithy, flash forward from Perks, and he manages to find a beautiful kill, combining absolutely every combo. There was no hesitation on the body slam into ultimate from Perks.
Also, EXP mismatch there. The fact that Mickey was level 4 when that engage started, which allowed Perks to get the level 6 since his support wasn't in the lane, and Patrick and Mithy didn't have access to their ultimates.
Okay, Betrap on a rope is doing a lot of work here. Skarl is also going to help Wonder out. He's going to try and use that jousting to get to safety. Skarl comes down, pocket pistol by some distance. Wonder's running for his life, and this should be the kill. Managed to secure. Skarl was milliseconds away from coming in, but Perks once again gets a kill in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Patrick was still isolated down bot lanes. The teams go tit for tat right there. Wonder almost able to turn it in that 1 versus 2, but ultimately it's still G2 that win out across the map.
And now Nukeduck in trouble.
Ooh, just gets out of range of that cocoon. A little bit more mana this time round, but his flash available to him. G2 Esports 3 kills to 1. Got themselves a 1,400 gold lead, and Jankos will try to steal the Sentinel.
Yeah, just trying to constantly punish when they get information that Cold is on top side. So not only the bot lane dive where Perks picks up the kill, but now also stealing away the blue buff.
Yeah, and the next play I expect to see from Jankos after his reset is path through clears jungle and then probably set up for an early Drake because of the control they've generated through this bottom lane. Again, Jankos actually passed all the way around right here, and still the stun came through off that body slam. What you gonna do but die?
Yeah, it's just a real challenge, and of course when there's a giant minion wave for Perks to just use the sweeping blade to chase through, it sets it up so easily. Perks has got himself the Kershi Shard, Zeal, Berserker's Greaves, and 70 CS accrued at the 9.5 minutes mark, and this is already looking a little bit scary. As G2 have just got so many tools in their kits to dive forward and make proactive plays.
I think it's very scary for Origin right now across from this Yasuo and Gragas combination. It feels like Perks is especially going to have the confidence, but any time that Exhaust is up to look for the kills, that's a very far trip from home, Wonder.
It is.
He's okay because he can ult out.
Yeah, he's got himself the Goro built with 3 long swords and a Doran's blade. Maybe he's trying to arm Skarl as well. Ended up using the charge defensively. A little bit of an optimistic cocoon there from Jankos, but Mickey's getting very close to level 6, and the final breath from Perks is available for a potential another engage.
Yeah, so from G2, I believe there was calls down bottom lane saying we can look for an engage relatively soon, because Jankos has forsaken his top side camps for a very long time. He spent a ton of time hovering around this bottom side of the map, and now with that pressure, Mickey and Perks have just left bot lane. They're looking for a gank mid.
Okay, let's see if this works out. Mithy and Patrick are making their way up. Are they bold enough? Oh, that's so good! The displacement from the package is all that's needed. Caps is still going to be able to escape. He's got flash if necessary. Perks gets caught underneath the tower. He manages to stay alive just a few seconds longer. Not until Mithy takes him down. I think maybe with the Ignite. Cold is Ragnarocking away to safety. Here comes Patrick. He takes a barrel roll to the face, and now the mid tower is under siege.
Just an unreal play there from G2, going 2 for 1 in the overall trade, and Alfari not going to fully commit for this roam down towards the mid lane. OG give up.
And where there's smoke, there's fire. It was expertly set up before they went for the dive by the 3 control wards, because they've had absolute control since Perks and Mickey have just been flexing on Patrick and Mickey down here. Full control of the bottom side river that allowed them to place those control wards to catch Nuke Duck by surprise.
And look at that, using the package to set up for the Yasuo ultimate. Beautiful stuff.
And I think Mickey also did the flash body slap, so even if the Valk hadn't connected, there was going to be follow-up. Now you know.
That cast is so good
burned.
too, right? Like they landed on towards Mickey. I think he would have liked to pick off Cold there as well, but ultimately still get the flash out of the Origin jungler. So even when it's Perks going down, giving up the shutdown, it's still a 1-for-1. This
is just yet again consistently beautiful League of Legends from G2 Esports. They're the #1 team in the league right now. They're under no pressure to keep showing all these different things, yet they still are. They're innovating. They've got the clear, they've got that Yasuo Gragas that we've seen banned so many times. And that's what we come to expect from this team. When they don't do this, then I'm going to start getting worried. But I am starting to get a little nervous for Origin. You know, Alfari's, once again, going for an engage, but they're 5-5 now. And they're already falling significantly behind G2 Esports.
But Origin are playing with the numbers advantage since Cold's down here. They're trying to then use that numbers advantage to take complete control over this jungle. And you constantly see Nuke Duck cheating down because they're either looking for Mickey and Perks to overstep, get picked off, or they want control over this Mountain Dragon where they can secure it. That's a TP top from Azir.
It is indeed. When we cut to the fight, Alfari's going low. Wonder's running for his life. Yanko's forced to zone away as well. Flash for flash. Alfari can't find it. Caps has joined the fray thanks to the teleport. True shot barrage. Not gonna tag him, but here comes Yankos. Look for the cocoon. Flashed away by Nuke Duck. Caps has got a lot of hit points to work with. The big one's being loaded up and charged. The counter strike locks him down. Caps blows him up. The fangs are sunk in, and the missiles bring him down.
And this is so devastating for Origin. Look how much they expended into that play. They were trying to set up around the Mountain Drake. They have all of the wards over it. They were playing with the mid lane priority. They were constantly cheating in. By going for that TP play to try to make something out of what Alfari was trying to create, they lose so much in return.
And even worse, that's the lane that's supposed to be working for them. Now Perk's going for the 1v1, but it's about to be a 1v3.
For it, Cold and Mithy are coming down. Flash is available to Perks. Sweeping Blade as well. Can he outplay the CC? Insta charm! Very good reaction from Mithy, just waiting for the control or for the contact from the champion.
Yeah, nicely played there to make sure that Perks had no ability to escape from that play. They're also going to be getting some money off the plates on that bottom lane turret. Just everything they need right now, because right now the game was starting to spiral out of there.
This can be really scary, however. Caps is a completed Trinity Force. He's sitting 3, 0, and 1 onto this Corki. Yeah, I think Origin definitely need to respect G2 poking their heads in here.
Okay, Mithy should be shut down. Yeah, oh, good flash to get away and actually just sidestep the final mission. That's such a good cocoon. Alfari gets shut down before he can engage. True shot barrage comes up. The dragon is secured, but another missile to the face. Now here comes the charge. Nuke Duck's going to be able to evade. Mickey's going to use the speed up for now. Caps will look to steal away the blue buff.
Now they did get, or Origin did get the dragon, however G2 will now take the blue buff. They have priority over the mid lane. They can now rotate in, and I think overall Origin are actually going to lose out a lot more in the extended measure of this play.
Yeah, because right now G2 continue to move inside of the jungle and just zone Nuke Duck away from the tower.
Wow, Pobel to chime in. Corki Azir, Corki Azir, Corki Azir. It's Corki that is winning this matchup right now. Just to quickly put some things into perspective, in the previous game, when Jizuke played the Corki against Humanoid's Azir, he ended 15 minutes with a +8 CSD. We're not even at 15 minutes yet, and Caps, maybe the best player in the West, is sitting with a +12 CS and a 5-0-2 score.
I'm just going to say, counterpoint.
Yes.
Nuke Duck was camped.
Okay,
just
fair.
counterpoint.
Very fair. I would prefer to leave the context out so my stat is more true.
Your stat looks impressive.
That's why I get protected by my analysts. Thank you, Frosco. Skarl is going to get popped as Wonder's under pressure. Nukeduck puts down the Emperor's Divide, and here comes the engage from Perks. It's yet another kill. The 11th in 15 minutes. Gragas Barrel is just about available, and Body Slam could get him over the wall. Do G2 fancy any further chases? The answer's no.
Nope. Origin keep trying to match the pace of G2, though, but G2 are better at their own game. Caps is split pushing down that bottom lane, picking up the turret, while the rest of the team is willing to get down and dirty and continue to win these fights.
Oh, I wondered if Perks was going to follow that with that breath of his, but he didn't. He's still sitting on the static shiv, by the way, and a whole boatload of cash, 1,500 in his coffin.
Because there's no reason to try to overextend for a play like that. You have Caps, who is just hard pushing in the bot lane, and as long as Perks and Mickey actually just stay alive here, them being around dissuades Origin from committing to the Rift Herald, and they allow Jankos to then get back into position, so G2 can now start exerting some of their force around this Herald.
What are your guys' opinions of, like, reviewing Origin's performances this weekend? As I've mentioned already, for me against G2 and Fnatic, this is a taste of what could happen in playoffs, and for me, these are important games. Do you share that sentiment, knowing that, you know, OG was 6-6 at this point, lost Split, and still made finals?
I mean, the concern for Origin fans that this team, after Spring's, okay,
Hello?
Caps is just trying to kill Patrick in a 1v2 underneath a tower. That's not okay, and that's probably concerning for Origin fans.
Yeah, absolutely the case. Frost seems to be dying and falling on top of the monitor. What's your take on the situation?
You know, like, Patrick, who expects that? Caps just rocks up with his package. He's got the wards around him. He's like, I can do this. This is totally fine. He could have killed Patrick there.
Yeah, he could have. That was definitely the, no, this is Patrick, as he's being just picked away from. I mean, it's definitely the case, right? But I mean, 5,000 gold lead, 11 kills to 3, 2 towers to 0. Like, this is just what you expect from G2 OG. It feels inevitable.
You have to update your gold stat because it's about to get worse.
Haven't answered the question, Frosco. Do you put a lot of importance on this weekend's game?
I mean, I guess I would have to take the team line and say no, that it's a best of one, that ultimately Origin's line consistently has been, we will be ready in time for playoffs. Now, do I think that that's a bit of a cop-out answer? Yeah, I think that if you're the best team, like G2 have proven themselves, you can win in the best of one. You don't need to wait until the best of 5 to turn it on. That said, Origin are also across from G2, and G2 does this to every team they face.
That is also true. You have to reevaluate the equation. The Rift Herald, by the way, has now been summoned up in this top lane. And we'll get a boop onto the tower. I wonder if one day G2 will try to get the dancing Rift Herald. It hasn't happened many times in the past. It just seems like the kind of thing that team would want to play.
Surely
for.
they've done it before.
I don't think on broadcasting. To my knowledge. I think to my knowledge, Fnatic are the only ones that have.
Did they do it to TL?
Well, I have to double check. I mean, I'd have to double check that. I don't recall at the top of my head.
Rift Herald wasn't the only one dancing then.
Well, exactly the case. But I mean, look at the items. Rapid Fire Cannon, Trinity Force, 502 for Caps and 170 CS. BF Sword as well as Ruby Crystal picked up for Perks in the bottom lane. He's got the static shiv. And while Patrick is farming up his second items, how far he's going to fancy another shot here, but I don't think he's been able to catch one.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I just want to compare the itemization of our two mid laners in this game. On one hand, you have Azir, you know, doing pretty well. You got your Lost Chapter, you got a little Stinger. So that's 2 completed items, right? Right?
No, that's thrift shopping.
You don't think so? Okay, yeah. That's because Caps right now has a full Trinity Force and Rapid Fire. That's absolutely disgusting, the difference between those two.
He's been farming champions as well as he's farming minions.
Look at the gold, that's 4K almost.
Guys, I hate to interrupt you, but they're looking at a dive. Now, Nukeduck does see this, and Miffy is kiting around behind because he's trying to look delicious. He's like, I'm fried chicken. Dive me, I dare you.
Yeah, but what is the response? I mean, Miffy's waiting in the wings. While that's happening, by the way, dive up top. So it is a skirmish on multiple fronts. Wonder's going to be able to survive for a few seconds longer. Down in the bottom lane, the fight continues. Skarl has been procced. Teleport coming in. Wonder's going to try to get over the wall. Pocket pistol sends him over the wall. Unmounted. Kled manages to escape. Caps is now in trouble. No, he's not. We flick over to the fight, and Caps gets a double kill.
Absolutely unreal right there. The late TP to enter into the fight. Wonder somehow makes that alive, and then just one auto attack is the only difference between Caps living and dying.
Yeah, huge credit to Wonder, the fact that he's able to get over the wall, but Miffy is desperate. Can he get something?
Let's take a look. Final breath being held on to. Mickey stays alive a few seconds longer. By the way, Jankos was able to pick up the dragon, and the second kill that Origin have secured is the fadeaway onto Mickey. and it just doesn't feel like it really matters. This replay brought to you by Anyway.
Yeah, we'll see this one more time because OG, they see 4 people bot lane. It's a 2v1 situation up here, so of course they try to get this kill on towards Wonder, but he delays so much time flashing over the wall right here, and then using the Q from his ranged one to pop over the wall the same time Alfari gets in here. It's just beautiful stuff from him to stay alive for Caps to come in and clean up.
I can only think of, there's a song, I don't know if anyone knows it, the Lemon Tree. It's like, I wonder.
It's another old.
Is that like
It
60s or 70s?
But I'm going to modify the lyrics just for a second, and please indulge me, right? But it's like, I wonder how, I wonder why they tried to kill me under the top lane tower, and Claps teleported in to make them cry. I bailed out of singing because it's awful, and I didn't want to get clipped out.
I think
that was the worst song
It was
ever.
so bad. What I will do is I'll actually try and make it for Twitter for later, but not in-game. It's just, it's 20 minutes in, guys. It's 8,000 gold up. And the morale in the OG camp has to be shattered. But I'm just continually impressed by how G2 are moving around the map. They're still taking towers, they're still taking dragons, and they're still just killing Origin in every opportunity. And Patrick, they didn't dive him last time, but they did this time.
Yeah, the long-range cast there, then procs the Yasuo ultimate, so they're able to pick him off there. It felt like what Origin were trying to do is set up a potential pick when G2 were walking into the area to place down Deep Vision. Unfortunately, G2 expertly moved in all together, so there was never going to be an opportunity to get an unfair, advantageous fight for Origin.
A second. Oh my word, that damage. Mickey and Caps almost kill Nukeduck before he can do anything. The first tower that Origin secures down in the bottom lane is Alfari with his Trinity Force. They're now 21.5 minutes. Baron is secured, and man, you just keep looking forward and you just keep thinking, where does G2 stop? Because they haven't really showed anything 9-14 wise. The Yasuo Gragas we've known has been a thing for a while, and while Kled is new-ish, right? It's also something that you anticipate and expect Wonder to have in his wheelhouse.
And it's also the fact that this has been a very clean game. I feel like a lot of that really started out with Yenko, so huge credit to him getting that early game rolling. In terms of what Origin were trying to hope to do is stall out this potential Baron, allow Alfari to continue to play these side lanes, get more confident in them, but G2 puts you on a clock and they never show up late.
Yeah, I do like to see how G2 try to close out these games because it's not every day you get a 21-minute Baron, but when you do, your name is probably G2.
Yeah.
And they're just grouping up 5 people in the mid lane, right? Wonder went down bottom lane, even though there was a way for him to pick up. The initial play was, can we move 5 mid? Can we get a pick and just break the base?
And one of the nice things about Gragas as a champion is it feels like in a quirky Azir meta where you're just constantly shoving farm into them and you just boringly watch them clear it. Gragas threatens teams under towers because he can use the ultimate to scoop them off of it.
Yeah, and look, even with 2 towers in the mid lane, they still stay mid lane. Alfari's pushing bot lane, but it's so slow, G2 can just walk up and smack this tower.
And also add on to the fact that you've got an Elise in the jungle, and Gragas plus Elise,
Bye-bye.
the threat is immense. Then when you want to get to this point where you want to force an objective, Kled's ultimate breaks open the base. Alfari is faffing about with minions, and it doesn't matter. Nukeduck goes down, and G2, they're looking for the win.
Yeah, this might just be game over right now. They still have cooldowns. Patrick gets exploded, and they're on the next tower.
Mickey and Perks, if they wanted to, could tower dive the fountain. G2 have a penchant for diving the fountain for kills. 15 in 23. Explosive cask has been used. Nobody was knocked up though. There goes Mickey in for the chase. I'm waiting to see if Perks gets the final breath. There's the re-engage. The stun instantaneously. Perks gets yet another. Cold and Alfari are running for their lives. Perks finally uses the ultimate. The Nexus has been killed by the Winions as all of a sudden Nukeduck has respawned from his earlier death. There is a teleport available here for Wonder to come back into the fray as he's doing. Titanic Hydra. Black Cleaver has now been picked up. We're only 23 minutes into the game. The Nexus has still not been taken down yet. Finally is the focus. There go G2 looking for kills under the fountain. Maybe the bear trap on a rope was to get people out of the fountain. The Nexus goes down and G2 stand victorious. It feels inevitable that you will lose to G2 unless you learn to match G2 like Fnatic did in week 3.
Look, we were promised a rematch of the spring finals, and that's exactly what we got.
Oh, that might be the most BM thing I've heard today.
I mean, there was a lot, if you want to talk about BM, the fact that G2 just let the minions kill the Nexus, that they were just hunting for kills. TP'd back in. Like, Perks was standing in front of the Nexus, he couldn't hit it. That's mental warfare.
It is, but it's something they do all the time. I actually have to tailor my win moments when casting G2 games in anticipation of the fountain dives, and it does make me very happy to see both Vicky and Perks giving Mithy a hug there, especially after the beating that Mithy and Patrick just received. Like 6-2-3 on that Yasuo, 7-0-7 on Caps' Corki, a 24-minute victory. It's beautiful.
The challenging thing is deciding who actually gets player of the game, since we can only select 3 people and give it to one. I thought that Mickey had an incredible game onto the Gragas. Obviously, Perks in tandem with him. The bot lane for G2 is just unreal. Yanko setting up a lot of those early game plays and aggression. Obviously, Caps on Corki running around everywhere.
Well, just an update, by the way, Mickey will be joining us on the post-game lobby once we wrap up the day and the winner's interview. And I just have to step back and I keep looking forward. You know, for G2, it's almost a certainty they'll be in finals. That's how it feels right now. But I'm going to look beyond that and look at Worlds in Europe, and I look at the other leagues and teams, and I wonder to myself, where will we find the challenge? Obviously, Fongbu Buffalo have it in there. We've seen that time and time again, and I know it does sound like a joke, right? But legitimately, G2 just suck against PvP. But when we look at other teams, like, how on earth do we go to the World Championships, and where do we find a contest for this level of performance?
I mean, you're looking at teams like TOP and FPX from China. Of course, Invictus Gaming's always going to be on everyone's lips. You're looking at Danwon and Sandbox from the LCK. They just faced earlier this morning, and it was an explosive back and forth game that kind of measure a lot of this tempo and this aggression that you're seeing from G2. Like, against Origin, it felt a bit like a stylistic mismatch.
Yeah.
But...
And does this G2 look even better than Spring?
I mean, they look just as good, honestly. It's so hard to say because, like, sometimes they win their games in 19 minutes, sometimes they take 24, you know, they go for the late game, really, in a lot of these, but ultimately this team just plays so fast, they play so well, that it's really hard to judge because all they wait for is just one mistake from the enemy team, and that's when they pop the trigger. So sometimes teams wait a little bit long to make those mistakes, sometimes they don't, and that determines how quickly this team wins.
Unbelievable. By the way, your suggestions for key up player of the game are Yankos, Caps, and Perks. The line this time around.
Again, everyone deserves a shout out because Wonder and Mickey are on the board. Mickey, God tier Gragas performance. Wonder, some fancy footwork onto the Kled there. I know that you weren't having the greatest time with Alphari, but that was a cool shift over the wall.
But I've got a question with that actually, because when I look at the game, you mentioned it very clearly. I was trying to do the CSD, fudging the numbers, that Corki this game better than Corki last game, but obviously multiple games made a lot of attention. But in terms of the only player that I really felt matched his opponent, I thought Alphari did a fairly good job into Wonder. Is that fair?
But I mean, so it's a weird game for Alphari because yes, early on he played the matchup super well. You know, he took a lot of very good trades, but then the second he makes that flash misplay underneath the tower, the lane just falls apart. No longer is he able to step up and play as aggressively.
Yeah,
that's around the same time his team starts losing as well. So his early laning phase, yes, was good. Then there was a critical mistake, and we never really got to see him in the game again.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of Origin for the rest of it, in fact. So congratulations to G2 for the win. We're going to head on stage where Law is standing by with Claps.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you, Claps, for joining me. Do you guys have to dive in the fountain when you guys smash them already?
So we always want to get like the last kills. Obviously, we were trying to like see if we could make Luca get another death. Unfortunately, he had stopwatch and he ended up surviving, but I wouldn't mind if he tanked a little death there.
All right, well, at the beginning of the game, I noticed a lot of happy faces on your side, not so much on Origins. And knowing that they're on a 7-game losing streak against you, do you think it impacts the game, knowing that?
I mean, it could be. It doesn't really impact our game, but maybe it impacts theirs. I think the reason we're just going happy is like that's what we do every game. Yeah. Especially this game, we had a lot of fun. And I mean, I was hoping to get the Tristana, but instead I ended up with a Corgi Asia matchup. So, yeah.
That's a spoiler here, Tristana.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Tristana one trick now. So.
Oh, well, tell me about it. Why does it work in the mid lane, and can we expect to see you on Tristana soon?
I mean, so basically, you just get level 2, and then you jump on any mid, and you one-shot him with like an E and Ignite. And then it basically works every game. Unfortunately, I was forced into a Corgi Asia matchup today, and I couldn't pull it off.
All right, well, I'll see. I hope we can see this pick soon in your hands now. Since you guys are so dominant, what are your personal goals for the summer split? And please don't say winning the split, because that's a given.
I mean, I think we're just aiming to win every game. I mean, obviously going to the split, we wanted to get the 8-0, but unfortunately it didn't really go our way. But now we're just trying to secure top 2 and then play as good as we can in playoffs and also play in a way where we can be confident going into Worlds.
A bit more about you now, because I had to look for some stats. I mean, you guys are winning so much, I'm running out of topics when I have to interview you guys. So looking at your stats, I noticed that you're the mid laner in the LEC with the lowest damage percentage. And knowing you, I think it's interesting. So do you have an explanation for this?
I mean, I think damage sense is like, depends on my team's damage roll, and I think all my teammates do a lot of damage. I also think a big reason is probably that, again, every other mid laner is playing a lot of Corgi Azir. I know this game with Corgi I had like the most damage by far. But the other weeks I was playing a lot of, I mean, basically assassins and stuff like this. So if you compare that to like the likes of Azir, you don't really get the same damage per minute.
I agree on that. Thank you for the explanation. Now, last question for you. There's something in Europe about wanting to find the next big mid laner. So I want to know, who's the next baby caps?
I mean, there's a lot of rookies looking really strong. I think we have like 5 rookies in LEC right now. I mean, if you don't count last split. I think probably Humanoid is looking the best. But leaders also look really good today. So it's definitely interesting. There's a lot of really strong rookies. And let's see who shows up in playoffs.
We'll see about that in the future. Now, I was just told that you were player of the game. Nothing surprising about this, I hope.
I mean, it was a quite crazy game. We were kind of trading a lot mid lane, and then we were like trying to dive him as well and stuff like this, and we were just fighting all over the place. So it was a fun game. Yeah.
Well, congrats on this one. Hoping to see more crazy game from you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Now, to wrap up the day, let's send it over to PGL. Take it away, guys.
Actually, it's unbelievable. I actually can't believe it.
Welcome to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Excoundrel. I'm joined by Vedius, Mickey, and Perks here, and we're going to be talking a little bit about today and maybe tomorrow as well, and looking forward to the end of playoffs. Now, Jen,
Got to talk about player of the game first.
Yeah, okay, right.
This bot lane is very upset.
We were locked in discussion, as you might have heard, just before we jumped on. Perks is a little bit upset that both him and Mickey weren't put in the same player of
Perks
the game.
was, so Jankos, Caps, and Perks are the choices.
Yes.
The fans get to vote, and Caps won player of the game. So tell us how you feel, gentlemen.
First of all, me and Mickey should be put as a dual lane, because it's not every lane is put alone, right? Jankos, Caps, Wounded Arrow, Soul Laners.
Yeah.
And then we should be put as one. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Because we should share it. Second of all is Boden gets 2v2 kill, gets another kill, roams mid, gets a kill mid. The first 10 minutes of the game is won purely by Boden, and then top side carries, I guess. It's every game is Corki was not showing people. So. And Corki was doing all that. I did like 4k damage or something. Corki did like 20k. So I was just a pressure point. But yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's just sometimes life is unfair.
So there you go. The fans, maybe they need to reevaluate their Caps bias. Maybe they need to take into consideration the value of our bot lane. I don't know if you guys watched Euphoria, but we gave you both the MVP of the split so far.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
I didn't watch,
Mickey.
but thank you very much. I like 2 videos. I don't know what to say. You're the best for me.
Welcome. No worries.
Really smart,
But I love what you two have been doing this split. Like, it's actually insane how often you get 2v2 kills. Is there like a special formula or reason that you can do it all the time?
Everyone's bad.
No, not everyone's bad. Just we are really
we're just
insane.
good? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. We are just really good. I didn't expect us to. Yeah, I think I actually counted at some point because it was getting kind of like surprising to me that how well we are playing, because I think we got now, is it like 5th or 6th game in a row we're getting a 2v2 kill and just winning lane really hard. So, because we make it started counting actually. Like we actually
wow.
I think it's a Friday game, no? We will go at it every time.
Yeah.
I think so.
So yeah, we are just playing really well. I think we just improved since last split, but it's also like our team is playing better. Because I think last split, even like when me and Mickey were being like playing poorly or being judged, was like a lot of times people don't actually notice the games that our top side was having rough as well, or we were trolling as a team, and then it looks like we're also boosted, right? But this split, everyone is performing a lot better as well, and we are just, when you get so much experience from MSI, you can't just become bad again, you know. I mean, maybe we can, right? So the key is to not get complacent, right? But yeah, I think.
Yeah, your damage was less than Mickey, and you think you deserve it?
No, I said that's why I said it's a duel.
I've been watching you guys from home. This is obviously my first LEC. I've been watching you over spring, watching you over MSI, watching you over the summer as well. And you guys have gone from strength to strength and got better and better. And I visibly see a gulf between you and the rest of the teams in the world, maybe. Do you feel like that internally, or are you keeping yourselves in check?
Mickey, you can take it over. Mickey's gotten really cocky recently, so I was going to speak.
I think we're keeping ourselves in check.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think China and Korea are pretty good right now, from what I've seen. And we didn't beat China yet.
I mean, we didn't beat Team Liquid the last 2 times.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So maybe Europe is just very bad right now. But I guess we'll find out in the next, I guess, the Worlds, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually unbelievable. So the thing that fascinates me about G2 is when I speak to a lot of coaches, a lot of the praise goes to Jankos and how like he seems to have a really good understanding of like where the enemy jungler is all the time. He seems to play really well around pressure, and like it'd be great to hear from you two, because I know you just get 2v2 kills. Do you think a large part of why that's able to happen is because of like what Jankos contributes to the team, or is that just you two are so good that you don't need your jungle?
Yeah, basically micromanage Jankos.
Yeah, we basically tell him come bot when he gets kills. No, but like, I think he plays really well, right? I mean,
pretty insane.
For sure, I've been saying this last year. I've been saying this since I started playing with him, that he's the best jungler in Europe, and people were always like, "Oh, what? No, he's not. He's just a choker. He's a blah blah. He doesn't perform any matters." But in my like history, like he inted me a lot of times in games that didn't matter, or like best of ones or something. You know, I still remember the one game I was playing Gragas last year in summer when I was playing Yasuo. My only goal was in Yasuo because he was running it down, but it's fine.
Against us.
That was one of the games.
Oh, that was one of the games.
It's fine, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, he's always performed, and Rose has been so good as well. And we played really well together, me and him. And he's just performing this year as well. So, yeah, he's just really good, right? There's nothing else to... You can't downplay him anymore. He's won LEC, he's won MSI.
Yeah, 100%.
He's the best European jungler.
I agree.
I've got a question for you, actually, because from what I've seen, you know, from an outside perspective, you guys dominate and are really quickly getting these wins, 25 minutes to 30 minutes. What is it you're doing differently? Are you just that much better, or is there something that you're actually actively doing from the moment that you step onto the Rift that sort of sets you up for these wins?
Well, today we got a mental edge before the game.
Okay.
You can tell us.
I went to the toilet and I accidentally hit someone with the door. I don't know. So it was just. I mean, I'm not sure I say all the details like that.
No, just
I think I just skip it.
We did a chant as well before.
And we also did a chant, right?
Oh, it's extra tactics coming.
Yeah, we did, like, because the original was just the chant. We can do it. Yeah. And then we were like, we wanted to do a chant against them to like counter their magic. And then we were like, and I told Jankos, I do it first and guys follow. And he's like, no, all the same time. And then he started screaming, they can't do it. But it sounded like they can do it. It sounded like they actually can. But then I told him, no, Jankos, they can't do it. And then he's like, and he started screaming again, they can do it. And I'm like, please, they can't do it. So yeah, we got some mental edge.
So we've gone for the mental edge, just setting you up for that very dominant win, because it did look like a repeat of the finals of spring. I mean, you know, we kind of talked this matchup a little bit today. We were like, this is a big chance for Origin to step up. They need these wins at this point in stage in the standings. And speaking of the standings, I think we can take a quick look at them and kind of have a look at where we are. You're obviously at the top of the standings still. Not quite with the perfect record, but I mean, you're starting to see a gap open up now between you and Fnatic and Splice. Anybody here that is surprising you? Because aside from you, I'm interested to know who you think is genuinely contending for the #2 spot right now, because Fnatic looked like a bit of a downturn. Splice is stepping up, even though it was a messy game versus Vitality, but Schalke, they're on a bit of a tear themselves.
I mean, I think Splice is pretty good. I think Splice is kind of similar to Fnatic, I think. Or, well, similarly good, like equally good, I guess. Yeah. So I think they probably both deserve like around second spot. I think Schalke is just behind them, but I didn't see that much of them. I think Misfit is actually pretty good as well. Recently when I watched them, I think they would probably be above Origin right now.
Really?
Wow. I kind of want to dive into this a little bit, because me, Betty and Ender were talking on the desk a little bit before we went into Splice's game. Me as an outside person coming in, I was like, I thought Splice were average. Like in spring, I was like, they're just a middle of the pack filler team, right? Splice is just Splice. You have to beat them to be at the top. But This split, I've been watching them, and they actually look really good, but I could never figure out what it was that they were doing. What is it that you think makes Splice good right now as a team?
Take it away.
I take it away. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think they play quite well, like mechanically, from most of the part, let's say. I think their mid jungle and AD carry are playing really well, and top and support are doing their job. But sometimes like they kind of like interbeat. That's what I noticed. You're right. But yeah, I think Zerus is doing pretty good this split. He's actually, in my eyes, usually the underrated jungle in Europe, because people like sometimes say, oh yeah, he's really good, and then at some point, yeah, he's just invisible farmer or something. But in my opinion, he's like always doing fine, and sometimes he's like stepping up, right? So I think definitely Xerxes is playing well for them, and Kobe has been playing pretty good as well, I think. So
yeah, I think
Humanoid has his games, I guess, as well. So.
Yeah, I think from last split, I think mid and support stepped up a lot compared to last split. I think Noshkan is performing better, and they're also playing lane better now that they're like more on the same page, I guess, compared to last split. And I think Humanoid is playing a lot much better than last split, and yeah, I think that's why they're doing so much better.
Just individual players stepping up a little bit to Splice. I mean, they have looked better, I think, over the course of this split. Let's talk about Misfits, though, because that game, I think, was the highlight of today in terms of the upset that it provided. I kind of have always been part of the European Masters since its inception, so throughout the spring European Masters, I saw that whole Misfits roster do their thing and end up winning. They finally had their debut onto the LEC stage, and all this hype around Leader. I saw you tweeted at LeaderLol, literally just tweeted at LeaderLol after that game. The hype around him finally seems to be coming through. Do you think this is a team that's got that pure talent, that pure raw talent, to sort of really contest the upper ends of the table?
I will not be so certain about that. I think so far I've been surprised by their top laner, and I guess now by mid laner as well. Because, I mean, like I knew like Leader has like good mechanics, like he's like known for it, right? With Assassins, but he's had like some really rough games. But it's like I'm really glad that he's having rough games, because it's better that he's like being 110 than being 0-0 in my eyes, you know? Like he's at least like trying to do stuff, and this game he's looked like insane, you know? So if he keeps doing that, and then after like a few months he will learn how to like balance it out. He can be really good. As for Dandan, I think pretty much same. But Dandan is performing like more consistent, I would say. He's like playing. I'm actually the most surprised with Dandan. Like he's been playing really, really well, I think. So maybe just EU topsman.
I'm curious how, given that, like, I know you don't play against other mid laners right now, but do you have any opinions on the current state of mid laners in Europe? Because compared to the past, like, let's call it the Perks era, back in the day we used to be filled with like really talented mids, but right now it feels like that there's caps, and then we used to put Nukduck as like the second best, but it feels like given his split, we're seeing a little more inconsistency. Do you think like the rookies are having the same impact, and like mid laners in Europe are the same that they've always has been, or do you think that it's declined a bit compared to what we've seen in the past?
Well, it's also different metas, right? Let's say the mid laners before was like lot of mages. Like only Assassins came, like Bruiser Assassins came towards the last summer at Worlds, and that's where I could actually first time play Assassins in a very long time, since my first split, right? And then it was like really fun Worlds. I really enjoyed the meta, but I think the meta has been like the reason why mid laners look so good right now is because it's the really OP role right now. Like mid laners has always been OP. It was OP when I was playing it. I agree, but there was a lot of times where like it was a team game, and it was like bot lane was also very strong. And I'm not saying bot lane is weak right now, because I think bot lane is not weak. I just think the champions, they were OP at roles. They got nerfed for other roles as well. And mid lane champions got nerfed as well, but since other roles got also nerfed, there are like so many new champions mid that came out, and there's so many reworks. There's been like, I don't know, around 10 rework champions in the last 1 year, right? So all the new champions are OP, is the first rule. New champions are always OP. So the more new champions the role has, the stronger it's gonna be, the stronger impact it's gonna have. And to add on top of that, I think the mid laners are performing quite well mechanically. I think they have pretty good mechanics. I just think they all don't really know what they're doing sometimes in the game. So that's why you can obviously pick up all the rest of them, because he's obviously better than all of them, right? But it's quite fun to see how like all these rookies are gonna like climb up, let's say, because it's really easy to say after 5 games, oh, this guy is really good or this guy is really bad. But now you have to do this for, I don't know, 5 splits, 5 years, you know? Let's see how long they can like ramp up their skills, you know, and become actually good. And then when meta changes, you can also see how they approach that. So I'm excited for the growth. That's all.
I actually was reading a little bit online about kind of what people's thoughts around that Misfits game were. And everyone was saying, yeah, obviously Leader was fed, he popped off in the Kali. A lot of people saying that was the best Nautilus game they've ever seen from Hiva. So Mickey, I mean, I kind of want to gauge your opinions here. What are your opinions? And he didn't go 216 on Pantheon, which is great. What do you think about Hiva as a support player coming in from Misfits?
I mean, yeah, I think this game he like kind of 2v8 with the Kali. He was like really smurfing. I think his last Rakan game wasn't that good. And I think sometimes he has this tendency to like kind of int it, kind of like get Scott alone and dies. Like I used to do it
with Misfits, right?
In spring. So it's it's kind of fun seeing him play now and play against him, I guess. And I think he's been playing pretty well. He like, well, at least 2 out of 3 games I think he played pretty well. I think the Rakan game was horrible, but yeah, today he was playing really well. So hope he continues to play well, I guess.
I've kind of seen Hiva's growth. I think I casted him in a UK tournament when he, I think he played for Renegades.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think he played for Renegades way back in the day in a UK tournament. So I kind of seen him go from that to EU Masters and now finally to the LEC, which is really nice to see. It's really funny because every time I see Hiva, he just has like a really troll smile on his face, which I think just kind of encapsulates his personality. One of the other big things that we were talking about throughout the day is obviously 914. This is the first LEC set of games on 914. There was a lot of talk about some major buffs and nerfs that happened. Have you guys felt much impact from this patch? Have you had to change any of your particular picks? What do you think is strong right now? I guess for bot lane, for you guys.
I really like the patch. I think it's probably my favorite patch ever.
Oh, there we go.
Because Bard got buffed, Pike got buffed, Tahm Kench got nerfed, like so many good changes. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, for bot lane, it kind of the priority is still kind of same, except like Tahm Kench is lower priority. But yeah.
I think we just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think it's changed quite a bit, and with the next one, it's gonna change more, right? Because something's gonna be buffed or nerfed a bit, and then you're actually gonna know what's actually strong. And yeah, as of right now, there's I think some things people haven't figured out yet, including me, and we are gonna have to explore a bit more. But I think it's going in the right direction because seeing like Tahm Kench for the last 5 years of competitive, I think got kind of on top of everyone's head, I guess. Already at this point, I think, yeah. And Lux was extremely OP. And even after nerfs, I still think Lux is actually good. So people shouldn't think it's ruined. And it's just a bit more balanced now. You can actually play it in situations where it matters. Decide just, oh yeah, you have to pick Lux. Okay, you have to pick Tahm, and then you have to play the game like this. But now it's like more spicy, I would say.
Yeah. I also think that like these two are selling themselves short a little bit.
Yes,
because
I get that feeling.
One of the big advantages I think G2 has is that every single one of you has an exceptionally deep champion pool. I mean, you have 2 roles worth of champion pools. So like every time a new patch comes out, it feels like that even if the best champions have gotten nerfed, you already have a good idea of a bunch of stuff you could have played last patch anyway. It just wasn't that relevant or you didn't need to do it. So then the top picks get nerfed and you almost have like A or B tier champions that you can default to after the S tier ones. So like coming into a new patch, I feel like even if you don't know what the best stuff is, you have prepared from last patch that no one even thought of or considered that you can still play. And like Yasuo or Gragas is something they were already playing last patch, but like you think of everything that was nerfed this patch, like teams figuring out what to play, where they're like, well, we still have stuff that's really strong that we're really good at, and we can bring onto the new patch that still works.
I mean, they should not give me Yasuo.
I think Vedi raises a good point though, because something that I've always noticed is you do just have this breadth of champions that you can play to a massive extent. In scrims, are you experimenting a lot? Do you kind of just play whatever in scrims?
Well, personally, I wasn't doing it as much before, but now I think that I actually think AD carry is really useless, and only that champion that's actually good is Xayah, and everything else is like debatable. It's really situational, so I will be looking to play more stuff, so you guys can see within the next few weeks probably some more very inconvenient picks, whatever you want to call it, like something that you would not maybe expect from a usual bot laner. And I see a lot more people right now, without giving away anything, people in streams try more stuff on bot lane, like AD carries or bot laners nowadays, right? They try more unconventional AD carry picks, bot lane picks. So yeah, I think everyone is kind of realizing that you have like no impact in the game, so just like having lane pressure is kind of important, and whatever you can do to get lane pressure is good. So yeah, we'll go for some lane pressure champions.
I think Freddy touched it though. You as previously the Europe's best mid laner, right? You have that massive breadth of experience on all of those champions that you want to bring to the bot lane, and that's probably going to help you out really in the long run here.
I mean, the Syndra MSI Game 5 versus SKT was a pretty big deal as well.
Yeah, Mickey liked it. Mickey says he likes Syndra.
Syndra is so big.
So I was just very, like, I don't want to pick it right now because it's like, it's too boring. So we are always only saving it for the moments that are like really dire.
It's like the clutch game.
Yeah, it's like the champ is so OP that like we just have to save it for like the most important moments.
My favorite thing about it was Game 5 versus Faker, and it was like last time they fought, folks couldn't do it. So instead he had 2 mid laners versus 1.
Oh, my Syndra win against Faker 100%.
Exactly, so you're right. So like it was just it was poetic in how it all came about. So I'm excited for the rematch, Perks versus Faker. We'll see Syndra again.
Oh, I'm looking forward. Right, I'm going to move us on to tomorrow. Let's take a look at the games coming up tomorrow, and I'd love to gauge your guys' opinions on some of those matchups as well. We should have the schedule coming up on your screen here. You can see, kicking off the day, Vitality Rogue, XL Misfits, Schalke Splice, SK taking on you guys, and then you're going to have Origin up against Fnatic. And Origin against Fnatic was essentially our match of the week. This is the, if you think back 4 years ago, EU LCS, this was like the ticket match. This is what you went to see. So, any games there that you think that there could be some surprises or upsets?
I want to see Schalke versus Splice.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
It's interesting you say that because I would have considered that fairly even. Do you think even from a pro player's perspective, you all values that you think Splice are better than Schalke, or the other way around?
I think it's kind of even, yeah. So that's why I want to see who actually wins. Yeah. I think both teams can take it, and that's like for other games, I would say, actually, honestly, all the games are kind of even. Besides, I think the last one, like Fnatic is
the fourth
favorite. Oh yeah, the fourth. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't count our games. Our games are obviously not even.
Anybody versus you in the league is always going to be a game that's tipped towards G2's favor. I don't think.
The first two games are actually quite close, I would say. And the fourth and fifth is going to be like G2 and Fnatic, in my opinion.
We kind of have touched on it, and I know Veddy's been scratching his head about Origin over the last few weeks. Origin versus Fnatic, it's a big game. Both of them haven't looked fantastic. I mean, Fnatic didn't look fantastic today against Misfits, but Origin has been on a little bit of a downward spiral here. I mean, what is it you think that Origin need to change to get things right? Because it doesn't look like they've got that formula right now. Difficult question.
I think they're just playing worse individually.
I don't know if they're playing worse individually. I think they're just like lost as a team a bit. And every time you're lost as a team, you look worse individually. Yeah. That's how it is. And if you're a good team, it will not matter. I mean, it matters how individually you play, right? But it's easier to play good when you're already good as a team. Like, I know this from my experience, right? Like when you're set as a team and you know what you want to do, it's very easy to perform, or like person to person, for me at least. But it's most the same for all players. Like you can probably sympathize as well for Misfits to. Now it's easier to perform when you're like having fun and like team's doing well, right? So it's like same for them. You can't point out one member and say, oh, this guy is doing bad, this guy is doing bad. But yeah, I don't really know what to say.
But I think like just lane phase wise, when you played them last time, I think they played way better than the last 2 times we played them, for example. Like last split. I think bottom played much better. I think mid also.
But we're also playing like extremely bad matchups. Like, we were playing insanely bad matchups, and we just started playing together. So it's hard to say, right?
I guess, yeah.
Like it's just perspective. Like you can't say they were playing that much better, because I think the first game we played in this split, they were playing quite well, early levels, until we got until Drakan jumped on me. Okay, now we're going into the matches. But I think, anyways, I think they're playing. I think their bot lane is playing fine, but I think they're not getting like. Even against other lanes, against other matchups. Usually their bot lane was like one of the stronger points as well on stage, at least. They will have like always security and stability, but now they don't bring that, and that I guess mid jungle. I think honestly, okay guys, I figured it out. I figured it out. Mid jungle is really OP, so if they're playing bad, it's because of mid jungle. Yeah. It's true, actually. Like I don't know what we're even thinking.
I agree.
It's true, yeah.
I think one of the big things for me is that Origin have talked a lot about how they're experimenting, and one of the things that you do is like, I'm more inclined to agree with Perks in that they, rather than experimenting, they just seem a little lost and not aligned on how they actually want to approach the game. And when you watch Cold, like especially over the last few weeks, it feels like that he's trying to do different things every single game. And like, you can argue like, sure, the draft obviously dictates that you have to do different things every game, but it feels like that he has no clear direction or there's no consistency in how he approaches things. Like, when you compare him to someone like a Jankos who always seems to know what he wants to do, how he wants to play, how he wants to execute, outside from the fact that maybe his bot lane micromanages him a bit, it feels like the Jankos is very clear in understanding. And I don't think we see that same performance from him. So I agree with him that I think that the mid-jungle Nukeduck is having a poor split, and I think that Cold needs to better figure out what this team what exactly wants to do.
I also have to put some blame on the coach, Andre. For example, today he left Yasuo open when some people know that usually shouldn't let Yasuo open against Perks.
People, I guess, figured it out.
Wait, but was it the Yasuo or the Gragas? Because I remember Yasuo overextending bot lane and getting killed by 3 people. I remember the Gragas not dying that game, so...
Wait, he died once.
I got a question just a little bit from earlier. You said lost as a team. I mean, I kind of hear this phrase a lot, but I'm not quite sure what it means, like in terms of the grand scheme of things. Is it like communication issues? Is it just not getting sort of cohesion with the other players? Like,
I mean, honestly, I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes, like, it's just doomed. And then sometimes, like, you take one big break and you're just great again. Like, I don't know how it works. Like, we had this last split, right, where we were like top 2, doing quite well, and then we like had rough last 2 weeks, and then we lost 0-3 to Misfits. And we were just lost. Like, even like in scrims, we were like lost, right? We were just doomed. So then we took 1 week break, and we came back, and we won like, I don't know, 18 or 90% scrims prior to Gauntlet. So I knew we were gonna win Gauntlet, just from scrims. So I think it's just their practice is bad. It's sometimes when practice is bad, you have to change your approach to practice. You have to change what you actually want to practice, or you just have to take a break. And sometimes when you take a break, it's actually best for everyone because then you kind of refresh your mind and you know. You just think more clearly, like you are, I mean, I've been taking a bit more breaks now recently, and just like, I feel more happier now, where like, usually I'm all about playing 24/7, my last 3 years, right? So, when your brain is in that state, you're just not gonna be able to think clearly always, and so, I don't know, just have more fun, I guess. I'm having fun right now, and yeah.
I think you can tell you're having fun right now, though, like from watching your play. And
Isn't that
but it's because I'm playing Yasuo, not because I'm playing AD carry and
part of me is just like, though, that who would have thought that the greatest formula for making a winning team is friendship, right? Like, it seems like you guys have got a winning formula, and it's impressive how, like, just encouraging each other to do what they want and do what they think is best. On top of being really smart about the game, to be fair, works out to success, so it's very impressive.
Yeah, I think, finally, guys, we're looking ahead to playoffs now. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to feature. Is there any teams that you think, I mean, if you were to take the teams here, which do you think are going to be facing up against you in playoffs? Just based on the performances that you've seen, scrims, and I guess the current standing.
I mean, I would say Splice, Schalke, Origin, Fnatic.
Well, so you have Misfits, Growing, and Vitality, who are all tied. So
yeah, I would put Misfits.
Okay, I'll put Vitality there. Yeah? I think Vitality will make it, or Misfits, yeah, for sure. Like, Vitality is like, they're like kind of lost sometimes, but then they have some weeks where they're like actually really good. They know what they're doing, and I think that Zuka's been having a really bad split prior to like past 1 or 2 weeks, and he's been playing really well. And Kawachas is playing really well, and Mugli too. So I think they'll make it.
You think they'll make it? You think they'll beat Misfits? It's interesting because Misfits look like they're on the up a little bit here. I personally would, just from the EU Masters standpoint, love to see Misfits make it. But if you had to say the team that's your biggest competition, is it always going to be Fnatic, or have you got your eyes on anyone else?
Splice pretty good. Maybe Splice, but like, I mean, maybe Schalke as well. We had, I guess, recent game against Schalke. I mean, I don't know, right? But it's always gonna be Fnatic for like G2 versus Fnatic. Old kings versus new kings. Like legacy.
There's actually a fine if you use that podcast.
So that's always gonna be the most hype one. We didn't get like I didn't get my BO5 win against Fnatic, or my revenge for spring finals last year. So I would like to face Fnatic. No better feeling than beating Reckless in the best of 5. Yeah.
Oh, guys, well, thank you so much. I mean, after this, we have got the LCS Academy coming up. And after that, there'll be a rebroadcast of today's LEC. So thank you, Vedius, Mickey, and Perks for joining on Postgame Lobby. See you tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. to conclude the Week 6 LEC.
How about today's game?
Oh, I think we can easy win, I think.
Easy win?
Yeah.
He's got the charge as well, straight onto the backline. Crown's shot is caught out between three members of Schalke. He jumps back though, able to survive at the moment. The Impale coming out as well. And Crown's still alive. In the end, he goes down. 2 quick kills for Schalke.
You're looking at medic now.
Yeah, I mean, that guy is just straight up flaming me. The guy on the left, the skinny guy.
Now we'll see with the Inferno down to 2000 HP. Profit going forward. The Cosmic Radiance used, but he has to flash away. Love into the wall. 4-man stun. Excel, take the fight. He takes out Jester. And now Profit goes in with a Mega on the wall. Oh, what a fight. Oh my goodness gracious me. And now the top laners have to retreat back. GA propped on. Expect the Gnar into the wall from Cager. Stolen away. And Profit's gone to his demise.
He's got himself perfect execution available. Nemesis can come up with TP as well. Leader chases down Hilly. Now he's in a 1v4. Not even what?
1v3.
1v3. Come on, 1v2. Leader can do it again. Misfits surprise Europe. And Misfits take down Fnatic. The Baron's picked up. Oh, what is going on? Why? Splice won the early game. Splice lost the mid game, but Splice win it in the end. Caps has got a lot of hit points to work with. The big one's being loaded up and charged. The counter-strike locks him down. Cap blows him up. Teleport coming in. Wonder's going to try and get over the wall. Pocket pistol sends him over the wall. Unmounted. Clint manages to escape. Cap is now in trouble. No, he's not. We flick over to the fight, and Cap gets a double kill. There you go, G2 looking for kills under the fountain. Maybe the bear trap on a rope was to get people out of the fountain. The Nexus goes down, and G2 stand victorious.
This one is